What's up, YouTube? Tim here with Cross Times Outdoors, and today we're going to be talking about something that's very important that goes hand in hand with firearms, and that is firearm safety. I'm just going to run down a list and describe a little bit what I mean with my top 5 most important things dealing with firearm safety. Alright, so as you've seen, my number one safety factor with dealing with firearms is knowledge. And when you're dealing with firearms, there's so many different things to be knowledgeable about, such as with shotguns, you have some shotguns can shoot 2 3/4 inch on up to 3.5 inch. Some will only shoot 2 3/4 inch. Some will only shoot up to 3 inch. Some will not shoot 2 3/4 inch. And what happens is, if you get a round that is too long for the barrel, you run the risk of getting debris in the barrel and having backfire or barrel damage, etc., etc. Also, another thing is the knowledge of the ammunition itself. A 20 gauge round will fit in the barrel of a 12 gauge, and then a 12 gauge round can fit in behind it. And you have essentially plugged the barrel of that gun. And this is very, very extremely dangerous. Could blow the whole barrel up of the gun. All kinds of bad injuries can be sustained from this. Also, as far as the knowledge goes, there's also the knowledge of just how to hold the gun in general. How tight to hold it, where you want to place it, whether it be a rifle or shotgun, where at you want it on your shoulder, where you want your head. With handguns, a semi-automatic handgun, you hold completely different than a revolver. And with a semi-automatic handgun, you've got the slide comes back. You've got to know where is pinch points and things like that on that firearm. So that is why safety is very important. Now, if you're watching this video, you're already obviously trying to take steps to be safer using firearms. And now another way that you can get your knowledge level built up and truly have a full understanding of firearms and how they work and how to be safe is to find somebody who is experienced, find a firearm trainer or a friend who uses firearms regularly, or at least has a good sound knowledge in firearms. Now, another thing that goes along with knowledge is going to be the knowledge of how to properly clean your firearm. This is very important. A firearm that is not clean does not function properly. It'll jam up, double feed, failure to eject, all of these different things. And when this happens, you have to find a way to fix the jam, fix the failure to feed, fix the double feed, and it causes an unsafe situation. Now, if this does happen, remember, keep your muzzle pointed downrange while you're fixing the jam. Number 2 is every firearm is loaded. There is tons of accidents every year in the United States where folks thought the gun was unloaded and they treated it differently. They didn't treat it with the respect that the firearm deserves to be treated with. And as a result of that, an unintentional discharge of the firearm occurred with injuries as a result of this. Now, if you treat every gun as though it is loaded 100% of the time, it dramatically lowers the risk of this happening. That has always been a principle in my family, my household. Treat each gun, every gun, as though it's loaded, even though you know it's not, because it very well could be. Alright, so number 3 is going to be muzzle direction. And this is one of those ones that's easy to subconsciously forget about, but is one of the principal golden rules. And there's just so many different stories of people, men and women, that are hunting or hiking or whatever at the range, and they taking a break and they just rest their hand on top of the barrel and their head on top of their hand like so. Gun accidentally gets discharged and they're no longer with us, or they no longer have a bottom jaw, nose, none of that fancy stuff. So another thing to also think about is I conceal carry, appendix carry, which means whenever I sit down, my barrel of my firearm is roughly pointed at the gap between my knees. This being said, whoever sits across from me at the restaurant is potentially in my line of fire. Whenever a young child walks in front of me, they are potentially in my line of fire. And because of this, I bought a holster that I can rotate my firearm and point the barrel into the seat that I'm sitting in, so that if the gun was to accidentally be discharged, it would go into the chair and not into an innocent person that would just be sitting there eating a meal or walking by. I've also got, a trigger guard, and I keep my gun on safety, but safeties are just a mechanical piece that can fail. Another thing to keep in mind whenever dealing with handguns versus rifles, the slightest twitch with a handgun at 15 feet can throw your shot off by 15 feet. A slight twitch with a rifle will throw your shot off still quite a bit, but it's not going to be the same. So you have to keep the barrel length in mind when thinking about muzzle direction. Number 4 is safe storage. And this is going to be more than just locking your guns up and how to. I consider my holster to be a storage for my handgun whenever I'm out and about. And so, like I said, I took the steps to make sure that I could rotate my holster without having to take it off, and that it guards the trigger, and that I can activate and deactivate the safety, so that I don't have to worry about pulling my gun then taking the safety off, or do I holster my gun with the safety off. Now, with gun safes, don't store your firearms and your ammunition together. That is, at least here in Arkansas, that is on the hunter's education course. It's a big no-no. Don't do it. If a child was to somehow access your gun safe and your ammunition is there, you've run the risk of them putting the wrong ammunition in the gun and having a breach and the gun go off. You run the risk of them having the gun go off. And so this is just a bad idea in general. Also, whenever you're storing guns in the house for self-defense, you don't want to have a gun in each corner. You want to have one, maybe two guns max, where you know where they're at and nobody else is going to be able to see them. Because what happens if a man breaks into your house and all he's got is a machete? Well, if you've got your gun, you can successfully, fairly easily defend your house. But if they break in the door and the first thing they see behind the door is your shotgun, well, now you have just given them a new weapon to potentially harm your family and you with. Alright, so rounding out my top 5 is practice. Practice is going to build your confidence, and it's going to build your comfortability. If you're comfortable with your firearm and you're confident with your firearm and you're practicing regularly how to operate your firearm correctly, then there's no way you can do this without operating your firearm safely. Practice is going to make you jerk less when you pull the trigger, so your muzzle direction is going to be easier to maintain. It's going to increase your knowledge of your firearm. It's going to have you bringing your gun out of storage more often, as well as storing it more often. So practice is going to help you with all of these other safety standards when dealing with firearms. Therefore, practice is key. And as we all know, practice makes perfect. So thank y'all for watching. I hope that this helped y'all in some way. If it did, hit the like and subscribe button. If it didn't, yeah, feel free to like and subscribe anyways. Y'all get out there and enjoy your freedom and stay safe.